All right, collective. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is November 11th. It's 11/11 today. 11/11. Oh, 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 oh. You saw it on your microwave and now you're awake now. I don't know. I see it on the microwave all the time. Sometimes the microwave's a little off from the actual clock, and so then you're like, oh no, the microwave, I just missed it. And you turn to your stove and it's like, yeah, there it is. Cool. I'm making fun of us collectively. Is that pleasant to be around? Sorry, I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, it is the 11th of November, and I thought I'd go ahead and do a collective message, but this is unique because I am surrounded by a plethora of oracles. This is a tarotless read. This is oracle only. So, we're going to kick it off with Rumi. We'll dive into something, and then we'll go somewhere, and then we'll do something, because I've never done this before. Oracle only readings. What kind of tomfoolery is that? I don't know. Let's find out. Your heart is a field of tulips that cannot be touched by age. Your heart is a field of tulips that cannot be touched by age. Yes, indeed. Okay, well, that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Rumi. That was a lovely quote. I appreciate that. Okay. What about that? You know what? We're going to go here. We're going to go to the, what is this called? Sacred Earth Oracle. I've used it once before. It's pretty, it's a little more abstract, and then we'll maybe get some more detail as we go here. So, Sacred Earth Oracle has to say, motion. Motion, okay. Motion, movement, good stuff. Animus. We have moderation. Okay, there's a balance to be struck there. I like that. That's interesting that it's hummingbirds with moderation, because hummingbirds are like the most sugar-crazed, obscenely high metabolism animals on the planet. Like, they have to eat every 3 minutes or they'll die. Like, it's nuts. That's an interesting juxtaposition. All right, and then we have context. Indeed. Okay. So, if your heart is a field of tulips that cannot be touched by age, what does that have to do with this? Motion, moderation, and context. It's a balance. Okay, I want to talk about this a minute, because age, when I think of the word age, I think of time, linear time, right? Your heart is a field of tulips that cannot be touched by age. Your heart, when we think of the term your heart, we think of like soul or like core of our consciousness. It's actually an expression that I'm picking up as like relating to directly like the actual true nature of our egos. Our ego self is an essential part of our human experience, and it needs to be in balance. Moderation and context around the ego are very important to recognize the importance of it. Motion, I think, has to do with kind of moving through time, and the way we go through ebbs and flows with our ego, and the way we go through ebbs and flows with our ideals and with it's our life journey, okay? So what stays consistent, I think, is our soul's journey. We are eternal, timeless beings in a sense, but this avatar is very temporal. It's very linear in time and bound by these things. And so I think what's being called for here is like to recognize the fact that the core you is secure in a sense. I've been reflecting on something lately to do with this whole spiritual community and like some of the pitfalls of like the dogmatic aspects of it. If you've been in the spiritual community for very long, you know there's people espousing different ideas that could be almost religious in nature and kind of authoritative and hierarchical and a little bit threatening, like, well, don't lower your vibe or you'll miss the magic boat to the 5D, you know, that kind of stuff. And that's not true. Like, your lower self avatar that you're in right now isn't going to fuck up the mission of life purpose for your higher self. Okay? I think we need to just like gain some context so that we can chill out. It feels like it's overactive. The vibe I'm getting here is like overactive zeal for this spiritual journey, and we're getting it, you know, somebody out there, I've been there. I think we've all been there at different times, but somebody out there's got this like super overactive zeal for this thing, and they're just like, oh, I gotta heal. Like, I'm just, you know, like, I'm just trying so hard to heal. And it's like, I picture somebody, I hate to say this, forgive me for being so crass. It's like, you know, constipation. It's like somebody on a, you know, sitting in their washroom, just like pushing with all their might to, to heal. It's like, no, relax. Moderation. You could hurt yourself. Don't try too hard. You could hurt yourself. Okay? Like, you're okay at the end of the day. Boy, this is absurd. We're kicking it off on a real absurd note here. I love it, actually. It's kind of hilarious. Where are we going? We're going to go to Moonology. I love these one-word cards. I love the way it leaves some space. And we're just going to, I guess, progressively ramp up. I'm curious what the Moonology has to say here. Thanks for bearing with me, and thanks for being in my experiment right now. This is kind of fun. Like, I know, I'll start a tarot channel, and then I'll stop reading tarot cards on it. Isn't that fun? We're having a good time. All right. Let's check it out right now. Regarding motion, we've got work through your fears, new moon in Scorpio. Okay. Work through your fears and motion. I think we need more context. Before I jump to any conclusions, I should moderate my presumptions and gain some further context, shall I not? Wouldn't that be a wise thing to do? Probably. All right, regarding moderation, we have your dream needs a practical plan. Full moon in Taurus. I love it. Okay, great. We need some context now, don't we? Yeah. Yes, it's not doing stuff, like busy work is not actually productive, usually. There's something else to it. And then we need expect powerful change, new moon eclipse over context. Expect powerful change over context. That is fascinating. What do you mean by powerful change? Context is critical in this situation because it could be nothing more than an internal shift. It could be this recognition of the fact that your higher self you're already there in a sense. It could be something as simple as that. The powerful change that you experience when you recognize the fact that your lower self, quote unquote, ego person is not actually ruining your chances at something in the future. Not outside of this realm. Now, your lower self in this realm could obviously affect negatively your future in this realm. But that's important. The here and now is missing again. And this is something that's been on my mind. It's like I was alluding to earlier with the spiritual community. As a person who left Christianity personally, I used to have placed all of my responsibilities on a savior, and I expected a new utopia to come in on the back of this savior, effectively, and then after going through this spiritual transformation, I took responsibility for myself, but now we're being asked to let it go again. Like, you have to keep your vibe high, and then you have to just trust and expect that the new world is going to unfold right in front of you. It's kind of like you still have a responsibility for your 3D life. You always have and you always will. So don't fall into a new trap. Now, there's practicality there. understanding the fact that yes, you're in the 3D and you're not living in the 5D. I'm sorry, princess, you're not living in the 5D. You are in a 3D body. Yes, we're all going through an ascension process, but that ascension process is literal physical space and time advancing, and we're becoming more self-aware. We're becoming more insightful, gaining wisdom, ideally, and recognizing the fact that our true beauty is something that's timeless. You don't, I mean, because the reason why I'm being so derogatory and throwing the words like princess around is because it's become a pitfall. And it creates separation, it creates hierarchy, it creates dogmatism, and I'm not into those things. Personally, I'm not. So, this is interesting. Powerful change, practical planning, working through your fears, motion, moderation, and context. Yes. And this message could be as much for me as it is for you, dear friends. That's the funny part about reading for other people. You have to be careful. Adjustments are required. Third quarter moon. Okay. Adjustments to your motion are required. Probably some throttling, some moderation. Moderation, if you slow down the physical changes and spend some time internally thinking about things, thinking about this process, you may have some insights. In the Fire Sign Collective that I just recorded, it came up quite a bit, this idea of strategizing and planning. So, and it was under the guise of Virgo, which is another earth sign, of course, but Taurians and Virgos have that in common, I think, very much so. I think what we're going to go ahead and do is I can't help myself. Work Your Light Work Your Light Oracle here. We're going to clarify with Work Your Light as a sort of outcome / advice column. The general call here is to recognize that you're okay, to recognize that some practical planning will help alleviate your fears, and to understand the changes that will occur need to be taken in context. Powerful change in context. Again, it could be a self-realization or actualization that may be much more potent than any external changes that occur through this process. Both can occur, and as within, so without. So you do need to understand, like, there's always start with yourself. This is something that really does. I tend to get attached to this idea of having sort of this contention about people being contentious towards others, and I know there's some hypocrisy and irony in that, but like having this external enemy idea, this whole thing, it's like it's a big facade, it's a big game. Like, you don't, like, it starts with you, it ends with you. All you can do is control your self-development, and you don't need to be concerned about what external things are happening outside of your control. And you also need to recognize the fact that the pace you're going at is exactly in divine timing with what your guides have for you. So don't panic. You don't need to this feels like a rush. It feels like somebody's trying to rush forward and it needs to be throttled back a little bit, and just trust the process. That's the vibe I'm picking up on here. Let's go ahead and get some advice outcome going on here. We've got awakening, energetic upgrades, a new way of being, integration, motion, work through your fears, awakening. It could be a pretty profound change for some of you in the internal, kind of in the internal monologue. And with the new moon in Scorpio there, it could feel like a bit like a death and a rebirth. You see the way that we've got the Scorpion down here in the Scorpio card. The awakening is like this person floating up, right? Floating up out of their body and into the ethereal. So there could be this change in your paradigm could come through a gate that is a bit scary, makes you a bit uncomfortable. It may feel a bit like a death. Dare I even say an ego death? And by the way, ego deaths, they're what they really are is ego refinements. You never lose your ego. If anyone ever tells you they have no ego, they probably have the biggest ego. So just a side note there. I have a very strong sense of justice about this particular topic. I think because I obviously fell for that shit at one point, and I don't want you to have to go through that with me. So, no, you don't actually kill your ego. You cultivate, you nurture, and you refine your ego. So an ego refinement, it may feel like a death, but it's letting go of something that needs to go, and it's allowing space for something more true, in a sense, and more beneficial to you and to others around you. With moderation, your dreams need a practical plan. We have inner temple. Devotion. Tune into the portal of your heart. There's a call to hermit mode, in a sense. Obviously, Taurus is not the hermit. That would be Virgo. But spending this time inside, you have moderation. You can almost think of like Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the temperance card. It reminds me of temperance. But it's a call to slow down. You know, I talked about these hummingbirds earlier. They are the fastest metabolism of any, I don't know. I actually don't know the facts on that one. I do know that they have to eat like within 3 minutes or they'll die. And they burn crazy amounts of energy. They're like the smallest animal with an internal skeletal structure that flies. Anything, they're the smallest thing, like before it turns into an insect, right? Interesting thing there. But it reminds me of just going 1,000 miles an hour, burning the candle at both ends, you know, doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. And rather than putting all that external energy out and staying busy with busy work, it's saying, no. You need to go within and spend some energy on your internal world. It's really all it is. It's like the internal world needs attention rather than the external. So in part of this, I could almost see, like, in the context of the whole ego thing, it's almost like a don't waste energy just virtue signaling to people your piety or something of that nature. Like, instead, have a good practical strategy for actually doing the healing work, and it doesn't need to be demonstrated or proven to anybody other than yourself. And I'll admit, this is a very personal message. I feel like I'm almost reading for myself here, and I'm really wrestling with this. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I have this. I've been a people pleaser so often in life, and I go through these phases of where the pendulum swings and I just want to rebel. I go through subservience and rebellion, and I swing back and forth. But what I need to recognize is that in spite of all that, I don't need to worry about it or feel bad about it, because my true self, my higher self, is actually I'm developing at the rate that I'm meant to develop, so to speak, and mature and gain those lessons at the time I'm made to gain them. I have to trust the whole process, right? In context, powerful change, we have break the chain, ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future. Yeah. So that is literally speaking to a frame of mind. You're recontextualizing the way you see the world, and it's breaking a cycle. It's breaking a powerful cycle within you that may be something that's come up in the past lives, or with family members, whatever it is, soul contracts in the past. Something's being broken. That's the powerful change. And like I kept saying, I like the way that see how it's a new moon eclipse? The powerful change is being eclipsed. In other words, it's happening in the background, but other people don't see it. This is the ascension into the 5D is really an inscension. It's a self-awareness. It's a healing that occurs within that allows you to change the entire frame of your mind and perspective. And so you're doing this work. Once you get the context of, like, the world outside isn't turning into a utopia, but rather my internal world is becoming a sanctuary, I feel like that's where the key is here. For many of us. And again, this could just be my own. I hope this resonates with you, and I hope I'm not wasting your time, but this is something for me too, definitely. Underlying the deck here is Mintakan, Longing for Home, Belonging, the original Lightworkers, the OG Lightworkers. Some of us feel out of place. I know I do. I feel story time, and again, I'm sorry to keep interjecting my own ego shit into this thing, but like one of the movies that ironically like touched me deeply was the movie Nacho Libre. Jack Black, he's, you know, raised in the monastery, and he doesn't fit in there, and he doesn't fit in the world. He just feels sort of alien, and he has to sort of commit to his true calling. It was still a divine purpose, but it was rejected by the religious authorities, and it was rejected, you know, and he still, and they didn't even really accept him. He was the underdog in the whole story. Like, parts of that movie actually made me cry. I mean, I grew up in a church. I had these experiences, and it's like, it really touched my soul in a weird way, even though it's a silly movie for kids, which, by the way, I love it. I was profoundly touched. There's something there about healing, rewriting the future. Now, I love that verbiage too, rewriting the future. It's not writing the future, it's rewriting. And the reason why it's rewriting is because you're making a decision not to follow the narrative that's been laid out for you by the other programming you've experienced. You're going to disrupt it. There's a call to rebellion here in a sense. It's almost a sacred rebellion. Ugh, and I almost cringed when I said sacred rebellion. I hate that. I kind of hate that, but that's because that's because I'm rebelling. I'm like, sacred? We don't even need sacred. Like, screw all that. Like, no. Okay, anyway, it is a sacred rebellion. This is something important for your healing. Something that's going to bring your ego lower self and your ego higher self into more of a unity, okay? I think that's the core of this message, is just to like, don't worry about ego death. That's all I can really say. If people are trying to find what that should be for you, those people are probably lying to you, okay? And that was my ego talking to yours. I love you so much, guys. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Take care.